everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Priscilla. I'm a Nigerian menswear designer based in this UK, and this is my first video of the new year 2023, so I'm super excited for this one. I thought it was only fair to take it back to the basics, and basically this is going to be your beginner's guide to getting into pattern making. What is a sewing pattern? A sewing pattern is a template that is traced onto either woven or knitted fabrics to cut out parts of a garment. These are then assembled or stitched together to create the full piece. Patterns are typically made on paper or sometimes on cardboard if you want to create a pattern piece that is more sturdy and will stand the test of time. The process of creating a sewing pattern is typically called pattern making or pattern cutting. A pattern sloper or a pattern block is a basic custom made pattern from which several styles, several designs can be developed. Now, some of my favorite basic blocks, and I've made tutorials for on the channel, is my basic bodice. I think everybody should have a basic bodice to their measurement or to that of their client if it's a repeat client that comes over and over again, because from the basic bodice you can make a top, you can make a shift dress, you can develop it into a jacket, you could add it to a skirt to make a dress, you can add trousers underneath to make a jumpsuit. So it's very versatile and it's not that difficult to make, I promise you. I'm going to link the tutorial for the basic bodice down below. I also have a PDF basic bodice from a UK size 6 to 16 if you are looking to grab something that you can just print off at home and use for your own designs in the future. A basic sleeve also comes in really handy if you are looking to make tops with sleeves or jackets with sleeves or dresses with sleeves, because once you have the sleeve done, you essentially will just attach it into the arm curve of your top or your jacket or your dress, whatever it is that you are making. The third of the three blocks that I think will come in really handy if you're looking to advance in pattern making is a trouser block. I have a tutorial for this as well, and trousers can be very intimidating. I remember making mine took a lot of courage, but once you have it done, once you have that block, you can develop shorts, trousers, jumpsuits, skirts. There's so much you can do from a trouser pattern. So I'll say having a basic bodice, having a basic sleeve, and then having a basic trouser. Just having those three, there's a ton of designs that you can make from those three patterns alone. From then on, you can now decide if you want to make a bodysuit pattern, a skirt pattern, or any other more creative pattern blocks that you want to use for yourself. Okay, let us talk some tools that will come in handy if you are looking to get into pattern cutting. Obviously, you will need your paper of choice. The one I currently work with, I get from Amazon, and this paper is typically the type of paper that architects will use to draw out their plan. Is semi-transparent, it has a good weight, is not very thick, so I'm able to trace off other patterns if I layer it over them. I use this for my everyday patterns, but when I want to make a pattern block, I actually reach for my brown cardboard paper. This I would make like my basic bodice, my basic trouser, my basic sleeve, because those blocks I would reach for and develop them into more creative, more fun, more personalized and unique designs for myself or for a client. Another tool that I am absolutely obsessed with, and if you've watched me long enough, you know this by now, is my Pattern Master. More plan, Pattern Master, if you're watching this video, my email is on the screen. Reach out, we should work together, because at this point I use and I reach out for this tool every single time I make a pattern, and it's because it has a curved end that allows me to draw my curved edges on my pattern, and it has a straight edge as well. Both edges have just the right amount of seam allowance when I want to add seam allowance to my pattern. So all I essentially have to do is, after drawing the curved line, I go back against that line and add my desired seam allowance, which is typically 1 centimeter or half an inch. In addition to my Pattern Master, I also enjoy working with my set square. This is by Plan as well, and this is like a 45-degree angle pattern that allows me to draw perfect corners so I don't have to think too much about it. It also has like lines drawn in there for 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter. This is the metric version. It also has the imperial version, which is like in inches if you wanted to grab that for yourself. I'm going to be leaving links to all of the tools mentioned down down below in the video description, so if you wanted to grab one for yourself, you know where to find them. Other tools I like to work with, especially recently, is I enjoy working with a pattern weight. Before, I would just use a sellotape to tape down my pattern so it doesn't move around when I'm working on it, but now I find that using pattern weight just makes me not use as much sellotape. So I will just place the weight on strategic parts of my pattern so it keeps it down and keeps it on my table while I work on that piece. Another tool I enjoy using is my tracing wheel. This I would use to transfer points or lines from one pattern piece to another, and the way it works is it has a bunch of like short points around a wheel, so when you roll it against the paper, it punctures holes, so that way you're able to transfer information from one pattern piece to the other. You could also decide to work with a marker pen, a pencil, or a biro, whatever you're comfortable with to create your patterns. When I make patterns for myself or for a client, I will usually use pencil and eraser, but if I'm filming a video, I typically will use like a marker pen so the lines are clear and visible for you guys to see. For the final part of this video, I'm going to be sharing tips that I think would come in handy and I've picked up over the years that just make the process of creating patterns a lot easier. Please plan out your designs before you make your patterns. There is just something so beautiful and there is a lot of clarity that you get when you take your time, sketch out your design. Even if you don't know how to draw, there are body templates that you can get. I have one on my show as well. It's called the Design Planner, and it's literally just a body template and you can draw your design over the figure that is already on the paper. After sketching down your design, write down the measurements that you need. And from looking at your design, try and just roughly draw out what pattern pieces that you need. Now, this is something that might not be very easy for you to do if you're just starting out, because with experience, you now start to know, okay, I need a bodice, or I need this kind of sleeve, or I need this shape of pants, or this type of trouser to go for this design. From roughly sketching out these pattern pieces, you have an idea of how many patterns you need to make. So when you're making your actual patterns, you know if you've made something, if you've forgotten something, or if you need to change up something based on your plan. To sample out designs you haven't tried out, this is in connection with the previous tip. If you are trying out a design for the first time, or you're making a piece for a client for the first time, try and make that design with your patterns in some cheap calico, some cheap cotton, some cheap muslin. Actually just make something physical that you can put on your client, on a mannequin, or on yourself, just to see if the shape, the style, and everything is coming together the way you imagined it. This is a very, very, very easy way to be able to make mistakes comfortably without being worried of wasting expensive fabric, without being worried of ruining your customer's fabric. You don't even have to make the full garment, you can just make half. So if it's a dress, just make half of the dress, so you don't have to make the whole piece. If you're worried about wasting your calico, just make half, just test it, just fit it on your client, because from all of that, you are able to get useful information that you can feed back into your pattern, and that way you just avoid expensive mistakes when you're making onto your real fabric. Another tip that I picked up with time is that if it's proven difficult or challenging to actually visualize, plan, or draw out a pattern as a flat pattern piece, try and drape it on your mannequin or on yourself, because there are certain shapes and there are certain designs that I think just come out a lot nicer and just fall a lot nicer on the body when it's actually draped on the mannequin. I know not everyone has a mannequin, so maybe you could try draping it on yourself. This is something I did for a corset top I made about 2 years ago. I knew that corset top would fit a lot nicer if it was draped on something that was 3-dimensional. So I actually draped it on my body, and then after draping that, I took off the piece, cut out the different parts of the garments, and then made my flat pattern from that drape. So that is another way that you can work. If creating a flat pattern is not really working for your design, try and drape it on the mannequin, drape it on yourself, or drape it on your client. My final tip would be to have an idea of the sort of fabric that you want to create your garment in, because the pattern for woven fabric is slightly different from the pattern for knitted or stretch fabric. So Have an idea of the fabric you want to work with, or after you've made your pattern, be conscious of the fact that that pattern was made either for a woven or a stretch fabric, and search for that fabric when you go out to source your materials. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. This is something that I thought would be very useful for someone who is getting into making patterns, or just wanted a bit more tips to, you know, just help you feel more confident with pattern making. Pattern making is a skill that gets better with time because it's based on experience. The more garments you make, the more styles you try out, the more different fabrics you work with, the more knowledgeable you'll become. So it's absolutely fine if you don't know everything right now. I don't know everything myself, and I'm still learning, and I'm just sharing that journey with you guys. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, share any other tips down below, and if there's any other videos that you want me to make in terms of beginner pattern making, fashion business tips, you know, more sit down videos like these, please leave them in the comment section as well, and we'll make that happen in the new year. Until next time, have a good morning, afternoon and evening wherever you are. Bye.